My name is Dave Gauthier. I'm the special effects supervisor, and my involvement in the show is particularly with the practical fires on set, the real fires on set, and with safety with those fires, and how visually they're going to look. I've done several jobs at this scale. However, knowing Rob and knowing the kinds of things he likes to do and how big he likes things to get, I sort of did a little research prior to arriving in Ireland about what I could do with liquid propane, which is essentially one of the fuels I use most during the production of the film, and figured out what kind of quantities I could use, what kind of pressures I could push propane and what it would look like, and how safe I could keep it, how directional, and knowing exactly where it was going to go. So there was a bit of research, but there wasn't a whole lot of time. From our initial phone call to me arriving in Dublin, I think was about 2 weeks.
Bring it up, good, hold that there. Your next one, down here, in the metalwork by the car.
At times, we had up to 35 people on our crew working with drivers and buyers and all the technicians on set.
Okay, very good, no higher than that.
During the actual filming, I'm sure we had 25 people running around on set, moving flame bars, moving big tanker trucks, and lots of diesel fuel and tanker trucks for that.
We're a little barren on the other side by the, you remember Andrew Nolan's flame bar? That'll have to go back up on that hill. You remember where that was? So maybe we can steal from Peter and pay Paul, okay? Here it comes. Wait's not locked up.
Well, I have my standard equipment that I packed. We packed a 40-foot container and shipped it over here, and it took 30 days to get here. The usual special effects equipment as wind machines and smoke machines and certain propane cannons that I use for smaller sets. But when we got to Ireland, I had a good idea of what I wanted to do, and I talked to the people here, and we sort of put it together and started off with that, namely the Dragon's Breath apparatus, which we built here. Usually I'll be on set a half hour before call, talking to the first assistant director, Bruce Moriarty, determining what he wants to shoot first, how he's going to shoot it in terms of what scene's next, where we're looking, what he intends to see. Then I'll go to my crew and we'll begin to discuss how to plan each day. I'll have to have a meeting with fire control to make sure that they know what we're doing, how I want them to set up, where I need fire prevention stations, how I want their water hoses run. And then I'll go from there and we'll start loading cylinders with propane, making sure that all our levels are up at a high level and ready to go. Our pressures are up. If we're intending to use the Dragon's Breath, we'll take a few minutes to make sure it's pressurized correctly, that we have the appropriate fuels, test all the remote control valves that we have on it, making sure all the hoses are perfect, no holes or any kind of problems with them, all the connections are good. So that during the day, when we actually start to turn over the camera, we're not worried about those incidentals, that they've been taken care of. And then we can move around and use the elements as we see fit. And then I can call on the radio for different fire prevention people to be in certain areas, or stunt people to be here, be there, to do the things that we need to be done to keep everything safe.
You ready, kids? Here we go.
And that's my prime goal. I want to make as much fire as I possibly can, but at the same time, I have to keep it as safe as I can.
Get ready, let's clear the track. Move it on. So let's lose those fire blocks, logs you put in there, and replace it with your fire bar. We can take the one out and replace it. Huh? That's the whole reason. Is how do I unlock it? I'm wondering. I'm going to have this light effect. After the light effect goes out, then he turns and sees you.
Okay, so we'll be able to see the flames?
Yeah.
As soon as they go down the street?
Yeah. Folks, stand by. And action! Dragon. Go! Go! Okay, one more time. Slower off. Slower off. Like,
Rolling.
and action!
When you're shooting a sequence like that has a lot of fire in it, I'm concerned with only what the camera sees. It's not an extravagance of fire. I'm not trying to burn the world. I'm trying to burn what the camera sees. So it's very important to be in tight communication with the director and the DOP and the cameraman to know exactly what their frames are, where they're going, how they're panning. Then when we set that up, we determine how close to the actors or stunt people we can come with the flame. We set up the scene, we'll test it, as we always do. We'll test it ourselves to make sure that there's not too much heat. There couldn't be any flaming debris falling on people that we don't want to have happen, and that the atmosphere level is good, and we go from there.
Camera, action! Go!
We always had planned to use an extensive amount of propane. During the filming of that set, we used approximately 8 tons of liquid propane, as well as several thousand gallons of diesel, if you include second unit. We actually burnt diesel fuel on the set in through the Donde machines to create that black smoke look, and the regular smoke machines that we use to give atmosphere. When the camera is rolling, I'm usually sitting with the director, or standing with the director, seeing what's going on, seeing where the fire is, knowing exactly what's happening, where the actors are in place, turning the fire on, turning it off when it needs to be on and off accordingly, and seeing that all is safe at the same time.
Cut it! Okay, good. Okay, so you're in position, let it go, and I'll light this, and we'll lift it out into place, and we'll do a test. Okay, here we go, Mike, and light it, and you can take it out. Okay, you're letting Mike take it up to position.
You see, what happens
Take
if
it up, take it up to position.
you put too much smoke outside? We lose the
Too much smoke outside?
Easy smoke outside, because it cuts the density of the shaft.
We know that.
Stay clear, Raymond.
Good. Again, keep the resting on it. Right, range ready. Okay, Bruce.
Okay, yeah, anytime.
Okay, Mike, you ready? On three. 1, 2, 3, drill. Okay, let's try out just one bigger screen, just so we can see a bigger screen. Donald, stand back.
We have 2 words for it.
1. Very good, very good.
Okay, we're convinced.
Okay, let's give a CO2 flare. Here, please. Jerry, CO2.
Fire is an interesting element because you never know how people are going to react to fire. You have to understand that some people who are very calm on set, who normally go about their job in a very business-like manner, when you introduce an extensive amount of fire, can get very nervous, and you always have to be aware that you explain the safety routes, ways of egress to get off the set so that everybody is relaxed about it, because panic can ensue, and we all know what that can bring on. My favorite scene that we shot, a particular shot we did in the quarry, where we had the entire vineyard burning. The farmers were running back to their Jeep. We used the Dragon's Breath apparatus. That was actually the first Dragon's Breath in the picture as well. It was a spectacular shot. I think Rob was very happy with it.
And let's light it up.
Light the fire, please light on fire. Like stop leaving the propane.
Okay, Bruce, just move that fire bar up, we're good.
Let's bring up the heights on the flame bar.
Up higher on the flame bar, up higher on the
Come
flame
on,
bar.
let's go. Yeah, rolling. Hey. How does it look?
Bring it up, right, one of them's off.
And.
Bring him down, bring him off.
Action!
One of the flames. Off, you're still running.
And go! Devon! Devon! Shot for it, next shot! And remember, Duncan, you've been running, so you're out of breath, too. Rolling!
43 Baker Dick, 3 more.
And action!
He's dead. He's dead.
Dragon!
Allez! Allez!
Come on, let's go.
Save it!
Okay, stand by, we're going to rehearse the same thing again. 3 more steps forward, Al.
When we were using the Dragon's Breath, we had to be careful. It's an enormous amount of heat with that apparatus. We're shooting several hundred gallons of liquid propane at 200 pounds per square inch through 2 3-inch nozzles. So we're creating millions and millions of BTUs in a flash of an instant. We're creating a lot of heat right away, so we have to be very careful as to where we're pointing, how far we go, what the pressure is, and then correlate that and work with the director, with Rob, in terms of how close and what he needs to really get out of the scene. I'm never so satisfied as to when we cut after a shot like that. And I know the director's happy. And at the same time, everyone's safe. Everyone has smiles on their face because it's been spectacular. And there's nothing that creates more adrenaline, pumps people up on the set more, is when we have a lot of fire.
Eddie!
Let's go. Let's go. Go.
At the end of the day, of course, we have to shut everything down. My first phrase when we hear that it's wrapped, of course, is to make everything safe. And depending on what the scene is and where we are and how much fire we've used during the day, that can take 2 or 3 hours in terms of bleeding propane lines off. If we're going to be at the same location the next day, there's a certain amount that we can leave set up that's safe as long as there's security. And there's also, at the end of the day, if we're moving, there's a tremendous amount of things that have to be moved, prepared, put on trucks, ready to go to the next set. So it can be very long days during shooting days.